Welcome on into the AIRDROP Show. My name is Caleb. On the internet, I go by Phosphorus. Today we got a special show today. I got a friend on. We can call that Teflon. We're internet friends, right?
I would say that's the case. We've known each other on the internet for some time.
That's the best part. I have no idea what you look like, but I've listened to you enough times in our AIRDROP happy hours to know that you know what you're talking about. So I wanted to bring you on the show today, and we're just going to do some talk about NFTs in the moment, probably across all different types of blockchains. We're going to talk about the macro, the micro, and what we're looking at the moment. Maybe not necessarily give you some alpha, ladies and gentlemen, but hopefully point you in the right direction of things that are looking up. Teflon, you want to just give me a little introduction of how you found NFTs, how you found Web3, and what degened you in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I've been around-ish Bitcoin for some time, as well as stacks, Blockstack, and I think not many people have been around NFTs longer than the last few years. So it really was, I guess, a year and a half ago or so when I first, kind of start collecting NFTs on ETH, and then they started on stacks, and more recently on some other chains like Tezos and Avalanche, just to explore. But I've been around the internet for some time, I guess, memes, and with that I kind of met a lot of different people and been somewhat involved in the crypto space for a bit. But NFTs have been the most fun thing that's happened in the space for some time. DeFi is innovative and exciting, but the art, blending digital art, which has been a thing for a long time, and things like generative art, which have been a thing for a while, with crypto and with an international audience, I think is pretty fun. So that's kind of what I've been up to the last few years.
It's been a lot of fun. What was your first NFT?
That is a good question. I'm gonna have to go on chain to see, but I think one of the first collections I got into was, the Wall Street Bulls on ETH was one that was a community and collection that I got into. I believe before that happened, I minted one or two things on stacks, not on like for market or anything, just like on the blockchain. So I think technically there may have been some like file I had that I uploaded. That was the first one that I technically owned, but I think the first community was the Wall Street Bulls on ETH. That was just like a fellow memer who had kind of in the Wall Street memes, Wall Street bets community, which was a lot of fun. And you met a lot of people, and I kind of saw the power of online community. But I'd have to check. Actually, I should know that answer. But I think one of those two, I would say.
All right. What's the crown jewel of the Teflon Musk collection?
I think it's still and will be for some time probably my Megapon ape. Just that's kind of a big part of, has been at least within like the stacks community, which is by far the community I'm the most active in, kind of the blue chip and my part of my digital identity with them. So I'd say that. In the last like 2 weeks, as you may have heard me talk about the Stoics from Gabe Weis, I've one or two of those are up there in like top ones that I like, but that's also because the community is a big aspect of that collection. There's some really, really intricate, cool generative art on Tezos that I've been like personally having as my backdrop and as my watch drop. And I think I'm going to get some printed as well soon. It's hard to say. I think currently it's hard to get one favorite. I like to look at a lot of different ones, sometimes just buying like a small print, or sometimes like the collections. And I guess we'll probably talk about this later, but things like FX Hash, where there's lots of like live generative mints going on. I think those are really fun, where you kind of feel like you're part of it. You're running the iterations of it and then choosing which one you like. So they're more interactive, and I think interactive and like innovative in a way that it makes the online and the on-chain experience a little more just exciting for the end person versus just the artist putting it out.
Yeah, I want to get to all of that because there's definitely a lot we can talk about in there. But first, before we get there, I want to talk about the 30,000 foot view of NFTs at the moment. If we're playing a 9-inning baseball game, I don't think they've even entered the stadium. I don't think the first pitch has maybe been thrown, but lots have changed. In your opinion, right now, Teflon, what does the market kind of look like now that we're in a bear market, right? It's September 2022. Where's the action happening? Where is it not happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first pitch has been thrown. I think it was thrown, like 2021 when there was some of those crazy amounts of volume on OpenSea, which because of that crazy volume, we'll say like it's almost like they hit like a grand slam right at the
Mm,
start, which started
mm-hmm.
things so crazy as far as volume. Now we're kind of, I don't know, in an inning change or just in a an inning where there's just really strong pitching battles going back and forth and not a lot of offense. But that's just, I think there's user growth that's continuing to grow with NFTs. It seems as if that's the case, but volume's obviously down because people are not speculating on anything because we're at, yeah, the bear market and the recession is hitting everything hard, which is just going to hurt volume and hurt speculation. But I think the user growth on, I mean, not just on, within stacks. I think it's we've the communities are growing steadily. You can look at OpenSea and some of the big, say higher level NFT trends. I think there's still like a good amount of creators and you know users who are coming in and using them in new ways, but people aren't throwing the amount of money at them like they were a bit ago. When that's okay, I think
Yeah.
sustainable money and sustainable growth is a lot better than billions of dollars just flooding the space because it weeds out the bad actors as well and brings in the good creatives.
Right. And that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for good creatives. I also feel like it's there was not an elitism, I guess, to 2021 because everybody was going just so crazy. But there was the have and the have nots. And I feel now in the bear, there's a little bit more people that got in or saw NFTs, kind of dipped their toe in, now have more of a chance to participate. And I think that's good, right? You're just getting more and more people that are getting more and more comfortable with Web3 and NFTs and buying what they're looking at. And that just, like you said, steady growth. And I think that's really good. Now's a great time to enter the market too, because prices are low, because volumes are low, and you can really kind of suss out where you want to put your money. And so you brought up Gabe Weiss and the Stoics NFTs. Can you give us a quick rundown of that project? You told me about that project. I unfortunately did not buy in early enough, and then it got past my price range, and it's not come back down. And I don't think it's going to come back down. I think they're killing it right now. So, do you just want to explain what the project is and how you found it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not going to do it justice by speaking on it. You have to take a look at all 5,000 pieces on OpenSea and go through them. Even that, you won't get the full experience. I mean, Gabe Weiss has been an established artist for some time, and he's had lots of one-on-ones and lots of smaller collections on other chains. So he's well established in the space, and I think he brought together a really good team and thought of some very innovative ways to reveal the art, reveal the traits, host different auctions with involving physical pieces for different rarities, things of that nature. So it's been a really fun project to be a part of the last few weeks. I think he's also like some of the best artists. He understands the commercial aspects of it and how to make it fun for all the collectors and all the collectors who are in it for a financial gain as well. Making it, which has happened at least as evidence, as you mentioned, by the floor price. But I
Right.
think that and having doing a lot of on chain surprises, um, things that you can only do with an NFT collection made it, and will continue to make it pretty fun. I think, he's also done something which I think is one of the themes I think a lot of people are seeing in the space, especially with like the kind of trendy topic of like really good AI art that's not generative. People showing proof of their craft before launching their big collections and throughout,
Mm,
with
yeah.
his physical stuff and the whole process. So it's much less about the very end result, like image, JPEG, and more just the whole process and what went into it before, what went into what makes this person a great artist, and then the project happens.
Yeah. He's got lots of good themes here. And if you're just listening, we'll probably put some art somewhere in the description. You can go look this stuff up. It's his collection he just dropped it's a PFP collection. They're faces, but they're all done in a cubist form, and it's generative. So there are different backgrounds and there's different faces for everything, and it's very interesting. Oh, it looks like Cheech and Chong just bought too. That's funny. There's so much happening in this collection, and it really does, I guess, say a testament to his art form beyond or before NFTs. This isn't something he just did.
Yeah, and the community he's built and the community he's established himself in, which
Yeah,
is the Bay Area, San Francisco. I mean, California art scene as well as I guess the U.S. sort of contemporary art scene. He's does his routes at shows and does his routes with different parties in the Web3 space. So
yeah,
I think that's a part of being in some of the big communities he's involved with, like the Bored Apes and the Moonbirds and some of those V friends, which I think it benefits everyone regardless of if you're an artist, a creator, a collector, or just someone who's venturing into the space for the first time. There's value in some of those big projects and big communities, even if like you're not obsessed with what the profile pic art is like, or if you don't want to use it as your profile pic.
yeah. Do you think it's important for artists to get involved in the bigger projects, the bigger community projects like Bored Ape and Moonbirds and V Friends?
I mean, I won't necessarily tell people to join those, but I think regardless of whatever community you're establishing yourself in, I think it can be very beneficial because I think a lot of those are like social clubs more than
Right.
anything, and people are starting to realize the value that different kinds of projects and different kinds of communities and different kinds of collections have. And a lot of
Right.
those are the facts that they're strong, tight knit communities, people who want to support digital art and digital artists on different chains. And I think it's a good way to get yourself known in a very, and, invest back into the space in a sense.
Yeah, that's been a theme that I've heard pop up a bunch. Is as anybody in this space, it's important to find a community and just dig into that community.
Yeah, I think you can learn a lot about, I mean, just the NFT space, the Web3 space, just technology, art, music, whatever is your niche interest. You can probably find some sort of community out there. I know I've recently been very much into like the music scene and the music Web3 scene, and there's just so many sub niche communities within there that you can find your community.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shout out the Pixel Wooks, which is a great jam band type community if you're into jam bands or bluegrass. Got some of those are really low floors as well, where it's more they're token gated, but it's not elitist. It's not like the Moonbirds or the Bored Ape where you have to have 50 grand an
30
ETH or
grand.
more.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the floor is dropping on some of them now, but it's still not many people feel like dropping 10 ETH on a club membership that's mostly online and with lots of in-person events, but still. But there's a lot
Yeah.
that are a lot more accessible. It's just about finding them, filtering them through, like hopping in their Discord before you buy things and just seeing what it's like, how active they are, because so many of them are still fairly quiet projects that aren't that promise a community, but the community isn't there. But there's some that don't promise a ton and have very active communities. As I say, I think with Stacks, there's lots of strong communities too, like Dr. Sus, some you guys with the Airdrop Show, or others that are small but mighty, with lots of very involved collectors, creators, founders who are involved with them. Or if you want to get involved in the space, I mean, these spots are open. Shout out the Airdrop
Yeah.
Show.
Hey, yeah. Go follow Airdrop on Twitter and DM us, and I'll make sure that we'll get you in the club. The easiest way to do that. Yeah. Are you following photography NFTs at all?
Yeah, I am somewhat. I mean, I know Jason. I've had a couple of his pieces minted, as well as the gentleman who goes up to Alaska. I'm blanking on his with the blonde beard. But yes, there's a few really great ones out there.
Yeah, Levi. I
Levi,
think that's who we're
yes,
talking about.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Levi.
There's one photographer on Ethereum that has caught my eye for what he's doing with architecture and buildings. His name is Chris Hytha, and he's a photographer from Philadelphia. He originally went to architecture school, but he kept pulling out his camera whenever he was going these places. And he just started taking photos of these historic buildings, and he's now putting them out as NFTs. And here, I'll drop the link
Oh yeah, I'm
here in
looking
the
at them right
chat.
now. They're
Cool.
sweet. They're really cool.
He had to go get a drone license to do this because you're in a populated place. You have to get all the right specs to do all this stuff. But what he does is he takes 36 different photos of a building all the way up, and then he like puts it in Lightroom and Photoshop and cleans it up. But it's this beautiful way of. I mean, we always look up at buildings in big cities, and you are kind of just amazed at them. But he has a really good process of almost documenting buildings through time because you can see the architecture change. And that's where a lot of the metadata is. It's like, is it Art Deco? Is it modern? Where is it? And he's based out of the Northeast. And so a lot of these are in the Northeast US. But I think I just saw on Twitter he's going to go down to LA a little bit and start doing that. And I just think when I saw these, I was like, now that is a great use of an NFT and fine art, as you can kind of collect these buildings. And I think it's just going to be really cool to watch him grow as a photographer. It kind of just happened for him happenstance. He just started one day, and all of a sudden, I was watching an interview with him, and his mom said, "When did you become a photographer?" And he was like, "I don't know. I thought I was going to architecture school." And now it's just kind of blown up for him, and he's traveling and doing these buildings, and it's been really cool to watch him develop into this artist.
Yeah, it's always cool, and I think the value comes through a lot, sooner than like the first month or two after you find someone, discover an artist or a photographer. Once you've been following along with them for years, their art has a lot more value to you and their photography
Mm-hmm.
because you've been there with them and you've kind of followed along, on his trips to
Yeah,
LA to take, the drones up to these things. It has a lot more sentimental value.
yeah, they're beautiful, and they definitely deserve to be on a wall, especially if you're in that city. I think that would be super cool, just to like, oh yeah, I have this picture of this building from my city. That's something I'm really into. But it's this new way of, maybe it's not new, but it's definitely a different way of capturing it. That's really bringing elegance to these old buildings, because I know people worked very hard to make them this good, and we really don't see the character of buildings up that high because we're always usually seeing from the ground, and so we get to see these skyscrapers. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's cool that, I think Web3 and, NFTs give people a platform to show their art and show their photography to people that they just might not have otherwise. Like, it would have been pretty,
Mm-hmm.
I would think 10, 15, 20 years ago, could have been different ways that you and him may have crossed paths, but, 50 years ago, they're very, unless you lived in the same city as that photographer and knew him, very small chance that your paths would have crossed.
Yeah,
There's another
yeah.
photographer, and I'm trying to find him on a Twitter right now because I follow him, and it pops up here and there. Who has a very unique, I guess, set of rules that he follows for his art. He makes different visual art on Photoshop, kind of trippy like lights, and he projects them in a huge way with tons of very powerful projectors onto the sides of mountains or onto the sides of old buildings and the sides of cliffs. And then he takes photographs of that. And that's the end piece, is the photograph of his, art projected onto the side of the mountain, which I thought was just a really cool concept and it was very unique. I'm going to try to find him and I'll send
Yeah,
him to you and find his name because,
yeah. So,
but it was very cool. I think when people get creative like that and show their art and go through multiple layers to show their art.
I think that's really cool. I think I know who you're talking about. He like puts his stuff onto different rocks around everything, and I'm like, oh man, it's just interesting how these people think of this and can flex their creativity.
I always just imagine what it'd be like to be camping somewhere or driving through the mountains and looking up and seeing on the side of some cliff, this giant projection, tons of lights projecting and lasers up of his art.
Man, you'd either love it or you'd hate it. There'd be no in
As long
between.
as it's not loud.
Yeah, that's so true. Speaking about flexing creativity, you want to talk about FX Hash, which is a minting site on Tezos?
I would say it's a generative art community platform. I'm gonna pull up see what they say. A platform to mint generative tokens. They also have a very strong community blogging aspects to their platform that let the community there talk about their art and explain processes and share their art and embed the tokens into their blogs, which I just think it's a very cool. I think it's one of a very leading marketplace and community for Web3 generative art. You can find a lot of really cool artists on there that aren't, you know, they're not the Gabe Weises of the world who are very huge, but they're just extremely talented, and it's really fun for them to tell their stories on the same platform as is being minted or as their generative art is being embedded.
Yeah, this stuff is really cool. Just because generative art is so different.
Yeah, it's really immersive. And that's actually something else. Have you heard of Tyler Hobbs? He's famous on ETH.
Yeah,
He has a new project. I've seen pictures of it, video. I haven't generated any art on it. There's a whole interface that lets the end user, the person who ends up minting the token, have a huge say in lots of the different aspects. I'd say similar to like what at a much more complicated layer of what Megapont with the Robot Factory did, where you can create your own NFT and then once
right.
you're okay with it, save it and mint it up. But, they went really to the next level with generative art doing that.
Yeah. Because Tyler Hobbs did
Yep.
Fidenza,
Yep. Yep.
right,
Yep.
on
Which
Art
is
Blocks.
one of the biggest.
And Art Blocks is like the site for generative art. That's where the big boys go to play. And I feel like FX Hash is where, if Art Blocks is varsity, maybe FX Hash is JV. But that's where people can flex, try stuff out, create stuff, put things out there. And then once they've like really figured something out, they can then go to Art Blocks, which they sell stuff for a lot more. So I think it's FX Hash is a good place to be if you're just getting into the space and you want to go find some people, because you never know what may happen
Yeah.
with some of these artists.
Same with Gamma. It's the put stuff up there. I think there's definitely like
Yeah.
some arbitrage opportunities when there's just on some of these newer emerging blockchains that have NFT communities in them to put stuff out there. As we know, Foundation and Super Rare and all of the, and
Yeah.
even to some extent OpenSea, it's pretty tough to separate yourself from the noise. And as a creator, it's important to have your stuff on almost as many chains as you can and building small communities within those chains and across chains. And as a collector, I think it's, you could be sleeping on some really, really talented artists, projects, founders if you're only on the biggest chains.
Yeah, it's how do you find people? I mean, I got first started on a smaller chain because I didn't have the money to throw on some of these ETH NFTs, but I can participate still and catch these artists, become a part of a community, be an active participant at that. And I think that's a lot of fun just to play around and see what's there. And that's the whole goal of, I guess, this show is we want to give you some information to maybe point you in the right direction, because it can be kind of hard when you're just starting out and very intimidating. Where do I go and how do I do this? And that's what I want to kind of help us all as we all try to figure this out, which is why I wanted to have Teflon on, because he's helped me a lot as I'm trying to figure out this space. What other spots on FX Hash? Is there any artists that you are really into that you're like, ooh, this is happening? Or is it just on the minting page, you're just there seeing
Yeah,
what
I
pops
like
up?
to scroll a little bit on the minting page. I do more of the blogs and reading through
Okay.
different ones. And then
Okay.
if I really like what I read or like what I see as I'm reading it, I'll, head to their Twitter, head to their mint page and see, see what they have. That's usually my process, at least on there. But
Yeah.
that's mostly, I think there's just a lot of talented people who that's just like the pure art function. You're not going to find the degen gains that you'll find on some of the big Ethereum projects on buying art from small artists in third world countries or something. But there's just different motives, and if you're clear about them yourself, then you'll enjoy them for different reasons, right? Like some of it is purely being an art
Yeah.
collector, and part of it is me. This is all personal, but I like to degen sometimes, and I like to make profits off of NFTs. Not that I do that too often, but the aspect of that is fun, and there's also the really fun aspect of just collecting emerging artist art.
Yes, there is something about just helping creators, participating, and just being a part.
I think it's something that it's part of the digital identity. It's part of the digital ownership. I think in 5, 10, and I'm obviously a believer in it, but I think in 5, 10 years, like there will be a lot of nostalgia, and even just for yourself, to buying some of these things at low prices, or hopefully hopefully the market matures and these artists become the next Gabe Weises out there as well. But even if not, they're when you buy it and it's good art, it's good art. It's better than the rug pull crappy art projects that people were buying when they were shilling for building the next metaverse or whatever.
Right, trying to sell us on the next big thing. Because, Gabe Weiss built up, like, the success that he's had with the Stoics is well deserved because he's actually worked to put himself out there, right? This may look like an overnight success, but we all know it's not, right? He's been spending the last 10 years doing art. You can really see that pay off now. Whereas when I go to FX Hash and I'm looking, so I found one I kind of liked, right? And then you go and you find the articles, kind of read about it. Found one artist, found his website, found out he's 16 years old and lives in the Netherlands. Like, you know what? He's putting his 10,000 hours in doing this, and I can appreciate that, and I can support that, and I'm all for
Yeah,
people
I
going
think
for it.
it's the art world has existed for a while. The digital art world, even buying it, has existed for a while. But I think this just further promotes getting rid of gatekeepers in some ways, especially sites like this and
Mm,
sites like Gamma and others that are very accessible and very open. And there's still going to always be some levels of gatekeeping, because there's always going to be some levels of social aspects to the art, and there's going to be marketing
right.
aspects to the art. Like Andy Warhol didn't just sit around in a studio and make art. Like, he was socializing in New York at the parties and talking to media about his process and what it means. So, like, you're always going to have to do things around your art with that to give it value, to give it
Yeah.
next level value. And you see it translates online and in the digital world to different levels. Whether it's like always putting out stuff, like you think of like what made people big before he got into NFTs, was this that he put out the one piece a day,
Right.
and people have been following him for years as a digital artist. And then, building his community, building his audience, and building, appreciators, I think to some extent collectors. I'm not sure how much of his stuff he sold as prints before. I can't remember. But, and then, when he came into the NFT space, he had the auction that landed him $69 million. Some of these things are just, they've always been around, and it's just a matter of people relearning them, in this aspect, and in the digital world and in the international crypto world, which is borderless money, I suppose. So there's going to be collectors all over
Yeah.
as well that you have to, cater to some extent, or to make your art accessible to them as well.
Yeah, there is that. There is that putting the 10,000 hours in. There is the constantly creating, and there is the socializing and the networking. Do you think different blockchains at this point serve different purposes when it comes to art? Because I remember talking to Jake Fried about this, and I was like, should we just be putting like minting art all the time and just putting it on the blockchain and like flooding the blockchain? Like now we have digital scarcity, but now I just put everything on there. Do you think there's a role for different blockchains in an artist's career as they move up the hierarchy?
I don't know if it's that solid now, or I don't think so. I think they should kind of be everywhere. I think people can be
Okay.
strategic about where they choose to be and how much they choose to treat blockchain like digital scarcity. I think it's a way to determine digital scarcity, which is like if that collection, or if there are rarity elements to it, but it's definitely not always going to be the digital scarcity aspect. So I think it's up to the
Right.
artist. I think some of the most successful commercial artists nowadays, or artists with the most commercial success, are putting themselves and their artwork everywhere through licensing, through, like, for example, Chris Benchetler. He's a
Mm-hmm.
professional skier and artist. Now I feel like he's almost more of an artist and professional skier. Like, his stuff is on backpacks. I mean, he has NFTs that I was just looking at and sold for like 20 grand or more. On super rare. Yeah, obviously, he's most famous for his ski line, that with Atomic, where his artwork is on all these different skis. But I think doing those things where it's very accessible and very out there gives his most rare stuff, like his rare one of one NFTs, so much more value. They wouldn't have the value they had if there wasn't people with his art on their t-shirts and skis where he's getting pennies on the dollar on the licensing, but his artwork's out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel like so much of NFTs, people want to start backwards and then move their way, like into cheaper and cheaper stuff. Like they want to sell things for lots of money right up front instead of just putting things out there slowly, gaining traction and whatnot. I think it's really good. Speaking of putting out art into the world, are you putting art into the world? I think I saw something.
I minted one. I was trying to practice what I preached a little bit. I also wanted to see how easy Gamma was to launch stuff. So yeah, I did a little collage ski art. I've just kind of been really stoked for ski season with snow coming on pretty soon. So might see a few others, but definitely nothing. I'm going to keep the prices all pretty low on everything. Some elements of it are AI art, enhanced photos, but also collage art and just kind of digital art. But I wouldn't expect too much crazy floor prices or digital scarcity. I do have a few others that I'm working on that I'll definitely put out there. But I think it's fun. I think the more people that do it, it's just going to be better for the network as a whole, and more people realize how easy it is to put out like one of one art, or to put out like small collections of art, especially within like the Stacks Gamma community that I'm pretty heavily involved with. I really want to see the community thrive. And I think if 20, 30 more, people who are involved in the community decide to put out small collections, or, do some creative stuff and put it out there, I think it'll just say a lot for the community, for the platform, just for everyone. I think it'll be fun too.
Gosh, Teflon, I'm feeling convicted now because you're so right. Like there's something about like I can obviously observe the creative process from the outside. It's very different to be a part of it and put work out there and see what happens. And
yeah, I think in a way, like I'm most definitely a collector, but I think it makes my collector experience better. I appreciate the art that I'm buying. I'm appreciating the NFTs, and like from like an alpha perspective, like I'm able to have more of an edge. I feel from like if you want to be an investor in the art space, having done some yourself.
Yeah, it gives you more appreciation for what's happening, for sure.
But I know,
awesome.
You guys I know you have plenty of creative skills, and there's lots of things in the AirDrop Discord that's always happening. So hopefully we'll see some of them on chain soon. I know Rally and Fitzroy definitely have. So they've had their sus auctions, which have been with the Saints, which have been pretty, if I remember correctly, some big sales.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I guess it's my turn. It's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing you say.
There's the opportunity. It's pretty easy with the new Gamma Create tool, though. It's all no code. It's it's as simple as like signing a transaction, basically. Entering in the info.
And this is not an ad for Gamma whatsoever.
This is not.
They have not paid us to say this at all. But if you're a creator, it is really easy to get started with Gamma.
And I think it, not in that as well, but I think, FX Hash and Object are great places for any artists that are on other chains, even on Gamma. I think, get on multiple chains, like experiment with different platforms and different marketplaces. At least for myself, that's kind of why we're in this. Like, it's fun to experiment with the latest stuff, and you're not going to get it all in one spot. You're going to have to keep being an internet explorer.
To the internet explorers and all of us. That's good. Teflon, anything else before we wrap up?
Keep exploring. I think everyone we'll hunker down through this bear market. We'll have some time, but if we've got time to build, we've got time to find new collections and to find, new artists that are coming into the space, that are, growing up in the space. I think we got some time ahead of us. As long as we're not staring at price charts, I think we'll all survive. Sometimes it requires a little more fiat mining and, but as long as we stay involved, stay in the space, the artists aren't going away and the art isn't going away. So let's keep at it.
That's so true. Nothing's going away. The art's here to stay, and more artists are coming every day. It kind of rhymed. That was unintentional. Teflon, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.